All right. Good evening, guys. How's everyone doing?
We're good, Steve. How are
Looking
you?
forward to the 19th season. Welcome to the alternate clinic. So we're going to go over, first thing we're going to go over is the rule changes, some editorial changes, and then go through some points of emphasis. And I have a few topics, few topics at the end, some of the things like game management, cues and tips and lineup management, as well as uniform appearance and mechanics. All right, so we'll advance now. Going to first rule change is the field and equipment. So those of you that recall from last year, the home team could designate a dead ball area within the live ball area for media to set up cameras and such. That's now been changed. Everything has to be moved to a dead ball area from a media perspective, to where it keeps the media out of the way without interfering into the middle of the ball game there. Okay, going on to the next chart, field and equipment. I did a Google search, couldn't find a bat that actually had this knob on it, but apparently they're out there. So long as they're permanently affixed by the manufacturer, in other words, they can't slide off the base of the bat, they're able to use an adjustable knob so long as it's permanently affixed.
No slides. Hold on. We're not seeing the slides. Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulties, which is basically user error, which is basically me. So hang on just a second. All right, you should be able to see the slides now.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, so we're on to field and equipment. Back to that first chart that I was showing, the field and equipment. That's the designated dead ball area, as we were talking about before. The adjustable knob on the bat, again, it's got to be permanently affixed. In other words, it cannot slide off. It can slide up and down the handle, but it cannot slide off the base of the bat. This one came up last year throughout our groups, the use of the eye shields on the face masks. Obviously, they require the face masks and such, but must be constructed of molded, rigid material, 100% clear, so no tinting at all. So be cognizant of that whenever you're whenever you're out there on the bases, watching the defense. Make sure that they don't have any tint on their face masks. This is a big change going to the pitching rule. We're starting to line up across different associations and sanctioning bodies that an illegal pitch, remember last year it's a ball on the batter with an advancement of all base runners. Now it's just simply a ball on the batter. The reasoning for that is the pitch was illegal based on the batter being at bat. Therefore, they felt that it was an unfair advantage to the offensive team that they were advancing base runners. All right. Going on to the next one. Ironically, the next two slides are exactly the same. Pitch remains illegal to lay dead ball, providing that the batter reaches the base safely, and then all runners advance one base, then the pitch is nullified. So, for example, let's give you a little scenario here. Using your imagination, you have a runner on R1 is standing on second base, and the batter hits a double, but the R1 advances past third and is thrown out at home plate. That illegal pitch is nullified at that point because the batter runner advanced to first on the double, and the runner R1 who was standing on second was thrown out at home. Therefore, the illegal pitch is nullified. The results of the play is what they get. All right. Again, in the event that they don't reach first, the batter runner doesn't reach first base, or the runners don't advance at least one base, we have to give the coach the option of the penalty for an illegal pitch, which is a ball on the batter, or he can take the results of the play. So this is the next two charts are the ones that are exactly the same, but remember that an illegal pitch, even though it's illegal, it is a batter that is hit by an illegal pitch outside the strike zone is awarded first base. The only way that you advance runners is if that runner that is on first base is first forced over. Remember that during these illegal pitches and dead ball hit by pitches, be cognizant of where that batter is actually standing. You know, whether a pitch comes down between the plate and the batter's box, was she leaning over into the strike zone? That also has a bearing on what the penalty is for the illegal pitch. And if ball four is awarded, the batter is awarded first base, but there is no longer a one base award to the runner. Again, this is just going back to the original rule change that it's not automatic. If it's ball four, it is still a dead ball if it hits her, right? So it's still a dead ball award. We're not advancing runners unless they're forced. Going over a couple of the editorial changes, definitions for the purpose of an appeal. An intentional walk, this was brought up last year as well. Can a pitcher come up with an appeal after they intentionally walk a batter? They added clarification here saying that basically an intentional walk is the same thing as throwing the first pitch. So no appeal after you declare that you want to intentional walk the batter. Again, this is just more clarification on 2652 on the appeal being the intentionally walked batter being the same thing as it's not as throwing a pitch. Therefore, no appeal would be entertained by the umpires. Moving forward to the pitching. My point of view is this goes back as a rule of clarification, kind of back to the way it was in 2017. Recall that they could take the position, put their hands together, and then step back. This goes back to clarify it a little bit further that says before any step back on behalf of the pitcher, her hands have to be separated. All right. DP Flex, NFHS took liberty of adding a DP Flex appendix, helping to quick reference the different rules, situations, and scenarios where the DP Flex can be used and how they are used. When I try to teach the DP Flex rule, the main thing that I like to think about is what can each respective player do. Okay, the DPs can never be on defense only. They have to be in the offensive batting lineup. The flex can never be on offense only. They have to also play defense. The DP nor the flex can ever be on offense at the same time. So if you have the DP and the flex in the batting order, say just 1 and 2 for the sake of argument, and they both come up to bat, that would be a foul. The starter and substitute cannot be in the game at the same time. Again, this is just more of a, not necessarily specific to the DP Flex rule, but more to substitutions and illegal substitutions. The starter and the substitute can't be in the same game at the same time. Starting DP and Flex player have one re-entry, just like any other player, so long as it doesn't change your batting order. So the DP, when she comes back in the ball game, has to go back into the same batting order where she had vacated. Same way with the flex. Once the game started, DP flex in the lineup, they're locked. Make sure that whenever you're looking for your DP flex during your pregame, you're looking at that during your pregame conference at your lineup. It has to be declared before the game starts and has to be on the official lineup. Penalties, the same as any other illegal reentry, whether it's a DP flex or an illegal substitute. It is always a restriction to the bench or dugout. Obviously, if the player's on defense, whenever it's recognized, she's called out. Or excuse me, if the player's on offense, she is called out. If the player's on defense, the team on offense can take the choice or accept a penalty. Additional points of emphasis. Again, this is more of a clarification on when the pitcher has to take the sign. In order to move the game along, the actual sign has to be taken while she is standing on the pitching plate. So take or simulate taking the sign while standing on the pitching plate. Remember that this is more about making sure that she doesn't quick pitch. This is not about her actually receiving a sign from a coach or somebody behind, so long as she steps on the pitching plate, gives a noticeable pause. That's the whole intent of this rule. The sign can be taken from a catcher or coach. It can be a hand signal, it can be obtained from a wristband, can be verbal, it can be a series of numbers, what have you. But she has to take it while standing on the plate or simulate taking it while standing on the plate with her hands separated. Again, this is more emphasis on when she has to take the sign. The whole purpose of this is just to slow the pitcher down in order to allow us as umpires to be ready to receive the pitch and make sure that the batter is in her proper position, ready to take the pitch as well. Proper sliding techniques. Again, coaches are responsible for doing that, to teach them to execute a legal slide. It also obviously is to reduce injury, but recall that there is nowhere in the rule book does it say that a player must slide whenever coming into a base. That said, realize that as officials, we have to be cognizant on whether her lack of sliding was done with great force, with intent, with malicious content, in order to make sure that we can judge appropriately based on her non-slide coming into the bases. Head coach listed on the lineup card. Again, this is one of those best practice. This is that pre-game and game management skills that we work by advancing. If the head coach's name is not listed, don't be afraid to pencil it in. It fosters that good communication to where whenever you pull out that lineup card, you actually know who you're addressing, first and last name or first or last name on the lineup card. Don't be afraid at that pregame conference whenever they hand you that card. If it's not, their name ain't listed, don't be afraid to ask for it. Just to, it's that cordial introduction things. I'll take this opportunity here as far as head coach listing on the lineup. I'll also foot stomp that your lineup card is the only thing as a plate umpire that you have to take good notes during your games. That's your only story and record for what actually happened. So don't be afraid to use the back of it to make notes on whether you give a coach a warning, whether you've restricted a ball player to a dugout. Maybe it was an odd play that happened in the bottom of the third, but by the time you get to the bottom of the seventh, you forgot all about it. Use the back of that lineup card, because that's where you can really take some good notes on events that happened in the game that you can use in your post games. You can utilize them at each one of your meetings. I highly stress that whenever you issue warnings and ejections, that goes on the back of your lineup, because since we have to fill out our game reports, all of that information is very pertinent to what is being reported. Going back to the illegal pitch penalty, again, this is another foot stomper, because whenever the rule changed in other sanctioning bodies, it took a little while for the umpires to adjust. And this goes back to what I was telling you about earlier with the intent of the rule change. Excuse me. The intent of the rule change is not to give an unfair advantage to the offense by advancing a runner through illegal pitches. Real quick, go over some of the NFHS specific sports officiating courses. NFHS has taken a big step forward on helping officials of all sports maintain their proficiency by offering a few courses out there. There are several out there on the DP Flex, on substitutions, on management, lineup management, game management. Definitely take some time to review some of these. The associations, there may or may not be a fee based on what's been adopted by NMOA for each one of the courses, or whether you're associated. If you're a softball umpire, you may not be able to get onto these courses and take football courses for free, for example. Looking at a few of the courses that are available, there's softball, there's the mechanics for coming in the future. I know that NFHS does have several of their online officiating courses out there, definitely for DP Flex and substitution, that are out there on the NFHS Central Hub. Simply select on the right-hand side, you'll see softball, and there's several courses there. And moving on. So again, this is my example for what was out there already existing on the softball side. There's game management, obstruction, and interference. Also has some videos and rule interpretations, various situations that'll help give clarification beyond what is just in the case book. So definitely use these to your advantage to gain just in-game preparedness. And I think that is it on softball publications. Again, all of these are out there by being assigned and registered with on Arbiter through NFHS. You can download the PDF versions of all these documents if they don't come in your package. So before I let you guys go talk real quick about game management, 90%, my opinion is that 90% of what we do is not about calling balls and strikes, outs and safes, although it's very important. It's how we interact, how we handle those stressful situations whenever we have that confrontational call with the high school coach. Take the time to understand. Big thing is listen, allow them to finish. A big piece of that is wait for them to ask you the question. And then obviously you want to respond in respectful tone. Another piece of game management is slowing down. That's one of the big issues that is across all associations, whether you're calling at the upper levels, rec ball, and obviously here within high school ball. That's one of the biggest complaints that we receive from coaches is that we as umpires are making calls, whether it be outs and safes, balls and strikes, before the ball or the tags are even, before the ball reaches the mitt or before a tag is even applied. Slow down, enjoy the play, and then make your determination and reasoning on it. I already hit on this a little bit with lineup management. It is your story for your ball game. Don't be afraid to write on it. Don't be afraid to take notes as to what happened throughout the ball game. Have a good lineup management system. Mine may be different from yours, but be able to, at the end of your ball game, look at your lineup and say, hey, in the third inning, number 1 went in for number 5, and then number 5 re-entered in the 6th inning. Be able to retell that story whenever issues come up, especially whenever we get into suspended games early in the season, running into darkness where we don't get a completed game. We may be in a suspended game situation where another set of umpires has to pick up that game later on in the season. They're going to need that lineup. They're going to need to know exactly where you were, how much time was on how much, what inning you were in, who was on the bases, all that good stuff. So use your lineup for its appropriate purpose. The next piece that I want to talk about real quick is your mechanics and appearance. Obviously, you're attending the state clinic, so you're now going to be state eligible umpires either now or in the very near future. Appearance is key. You set the tone whenever you step on that ball field. If you show up there like your uniforms just came out of the dry cleaners versus out of the dirty clothes hamper, it makes a big difference on your first impression. It is cliche to say that we never get a second chance to make that first impression, but even your demeanor as you walk on the ball field, whether your uniform is pressed, whether your shoes are clean, all of that is important. I highly suggest that you pull out your gear bag, hang up your stuff on the closet rod, and put your plate cap out there and put your base cap out there. If you still have the sweat stains on it from May of last year, odds are you probably need a new set of uniforms. We are all professionals. Let's act it and let's look that way. So that's my foot stomper on mechanics and appearance. Remember, as far as mechanics goes, that's the only way that we have to communicate with the people that are sitting outside the fence. Executing crisp, clear, NFHS approved mechanics are key. Whenever you're looking throughout our groups, throughout any of your groups out there across the state, you have evaluators that are out there looking at you, making sure that you are using the approved NFHS mechanics, whether it be the 2-out indicator, whether it be dead ball, foul ball. Use them judiciously and use them appropriately. So that's all I've got on mechanics and appearance. Is there any other questions, Dana, that have been brought up on the chat?
No, there aren't any. I'll have Steve hang on for a couple of minutes here, and if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat area, and if not, you can go ahead and log out at your convenience. So I think that's all we've got. I don't think Steve has anything else, and there was nothing that came up as questions during the state clinic over the weekend that I'm aware of, anyway.
Good thing was it was a slow rule change here.
It was. It really was. Easy group.
Easy group. All right. Well, I guess with no questions, I'll sign off. Nice to see you, Stan and Carmela.
Good to see you too.
Steve, we'll see ya.
Great 2019 season. If you need anything, let me know. If any questions pop into your head later, shoot them to me in an email and I'll get them to Steve, because chances are I won't know the answer, but he will. So everybody's got my email, and we're happy to help at any time. And there's a couple of you on that are new to softball this year, so welcome. And if definitely if you need a help, I'll get you in touch with Steve or some of our other veterans they'll help get you acclimated to a new sport or to a new avocation.
All righty. Thank you guys for
Thanks,
attending.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's something right there.
Thank you.
Just don't put this so I stop tripping over.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
I was like, oh no, the vacuum. Vacuum starting.